All right, so we're diving in deep today.
We are.
And you guys sent us this fascinating collection of stuff.
Yeah.
And it all kind of stems around this recent YouTube transcript from Candace Owens.
Hmm.
So our mission here is to really unpack the key events and the perspectives that she's presenting.
Absolutely. And this one is a doozy because there's just so much,
Yeah.
like a spider web of different things coming out of just that one source.
Right.
So we'll look at everything from legal challenges that she's facing to reflecting on some past media storms.
Yeah.
And even her take on some current discussions around anti-Semitism and free speech.
Okay, so right off the bat, Candace Owens is served with another lawsuit at her home.
At her home.
And that's kind of a big deal, it seems like, especially with a baby on the way.
It is a big deal. And so the way she lays it out,
Yeah.
this lawsuit stems from Trevor Phillips.
Okay.
He was a former employee of Kanye West. And he is suing Kanye for allegedly racist behavior towards black people.
Got it.
But crucially for our discussion, he also brings up allegations of anti-Jewish rhetoric.
Okay.
And that's where Candace gets drawn into this.
Yeah, and so it's not like she's being directly sued.
Right.
But they're asking her to turn over a huge chunk of her private communications.
Yeah, 5 years worth of text messages with Kanye West.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot to ask for.
It is.
And if you look at the specifics of what they're looking for in the text messages, I think that really paints a picture of what this lawsuit is about.
Okay.
So they're looking for things like the Jewish religion or people, Jews, anti-Semitism, black people, African Americans, Nazism, the N-word.
Yeah.
Mentions of lawsuits against his businesses, the lawyers involved, Hitler, the swastika emblem, the Holocaust, and even some slurs that we won't repeat here.
Right.
But it's a lot.
Yeah, it paints a picture for sure.
It does.
And she's calling it a fishing expedition. You know, she's like, I've never been employed by Kanye West. I've never employed Kanye West.
Right.
So it is interesting how she's being pulled in.
Yeah, I mean, why not just go to the source?
Exactly.
So she pulls out this part of the lawsuit.
Okay.
That has to do with a alleged encounter between Trevor Phillips and Kanye at a hotel.
Oh, okay.
Where apparently Kanye is making anti-Semitic remarks.
Got it.
And insists on watching Batman with Robert Pattinson. But on mute.
Like the whole movie?
Yeah, just silent.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, I wasn't there. I haven't even seen that Batman movie.
That's so specific and bizarre.
It is kind of a power move, though, you know?
Yeah, like watch this on mute.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she mentions that her lawyer, Noah, is working on it.
Okay.
And she jokes about this quid pro Kanye argument.
Yeah, what's that?
She basically thinks, like, if you want to know what Kanye thinks, ask Kanye.
Right.
He says it himself.
Yeah.
So why do you need my text messages?
Exactly. She brings up, his past and very recent behavior, wearing the Black Klansman hoodie and the swastika chain or the interview with DJ Academics. These are pretty clear indicators.
He puts it out there.
Yeah, he's not exactly subtle.
No.
And then she even includes this footage of him at a deposition.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at his phone.
Yes.
And saying that, my mental geniusness requires this to focus.
Right.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of his way of being.
Yeah, exactly.
So as this legal stuff is developing, she also addresses why she hasn't really discussed Kanye before.
Yeah, why has she been so reluctant?
So she says that the main reason is that after Kanye's DEFCON 3 tweet, she faced a lot of backlash and even threats.
Oh, wow.
And she felt pressure to condemn him.
Right.
And she says everyone in the world was commenting on Ye, canceling Ye. And she talks about this interview that she did with Dr. Ben Carson. And she says that really helped her navigate the situation and not just give in to what people wanted her to say.
Right.
She thought it was interesting how everyone was so quick to react to that tweet.
Yeah.
But then when things actually happened after October 7th, she felt like people were much quieter.
Okay, so there was a disconnect between the reactions.
Yeah, this remarkable whiplash.
Right.
And so her belief now is that people want her to denounce Kanye.
Okay.
To distract from some of the things that he's saying.
Okay.
And she thinks that what he's saying is actually quite brave.
Okay, so this brings us to like a pretty controversial part of her discussion where she talks about this sinister Hollywood government type MK Ultra program.
That's a mouthful. But she's very adamant that she will forever respect Ye for bringing this to light. She thinks that this program almost killed him.
Okay.
And she thinks that the media ignored any of his evidence.
Right.
And just called him crazy.
Right.
So she connects this to the CIA's MK Ultra program.
Okay.
And the book Chaos.
Got it.
And she even brings up Britney Spears, saying she was drugged out of her mind.
Right.
So she focuses on these text messages that Kanye shared, where he claims that his trainer, Harley Pasternak, was threatening him.
Okay.
With being reinstitutionalized.
Got it.
And put on heavy medication.
Right.
Which Pasternak calls Zombieland.
Zombieland. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
She brings up Tucker Carlson's monologue, where he's talking about this text exchange and how scary it is.
Right.
And why law enforcement didn't look into it.
Right. And it did sound pretty alarming from the excerpts that she shared.
It does.
So she goes into Harley Pasternak's background.
She does.
And mentions that he worked with the Canadian military.
Doing some kind of drug experiments?
Yeah, and then she lists some of his celebrity clients.
Oh, like who?
So Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
Kim Kardashian, Katy Perry.
Wow. Those are some big names.
Yeah. She also notes that some of his clients passed away in weird circumstances. Brittany Murphy, Mac Miller.
Yeah.
Aaron Carter.
Oh, wow.
And she mentions that Aaron Carter actually tried to contact Kanye.
Oh, really?
About Pasternak right before he died.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of freaky.
It is.
So then she plays audio of Pasternak talking about his military work.
Okay.
And research into drugs that affect muscles and help people stay awake.
So this is like real stuff.
Yeah, he even mentions modafinil.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so she's laying out this pretty intense narrative.
She calls him a monster.
Wow.
And she thinks that Kanye barely escaped with his life.
Okay.
To further illustrate this point about mind control and manipulation, she brings up Sirhan Orsara.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she talks about his parole hearing.
Okay.
About the RFK assassination.
Right.
And how he doesn't remember doing it.
Yeah.
His lawyer claims that he was programmed through hypnosis.
Oh, wow.
Referencing Dr. Herbert Spiegel.
Okay.
And this whole Manchurian Candidate defense.
Oh, okay.
So she connects that to Kanye.
Okay.
And how the media is saying he's schizophrenic.
Right.
But maybe he's actually telling the truth.
Right. Okay. So she's laying out this argument that, you know, maybe people can be manipulated in ways that they're not aware of.
She also brings up the fact that the MK Ultra files largely don't exist anymore.
Right.
So who knows what happened?
Yeah, who knows what's going on?
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So then she kind of turns her attention to the Trump administration and anti-Semitism. And she's pretty critical here.
She is. She says that she thinks they're adopting
what she calls a BLM position on anti-Semitism.
Okay. What does she mean by that?
Well, she thinks they're expanding the definition of anti-Semitism.
Okay.
To include any criticism of Israel's policies.
Got it.
She mentions RFK Jr. Calling anti-Semitism on college campuses an epidemic.
Okay.
And then she plays audio of Rabbi Levi Shumtov.
Yeah.
And he's calling for hate speech laws.
Okay.
And saying that it's not enough to just be neutral on anti-Semitism.
Okay.
You have to be
anti-Semitic. Okay.
And she connects that to Ibram X. Kendi.
Right.
And his rhetoric about being anti-racist.
Right.
And then she shares reactions from Matt Walsh and Joel Berry from the Babylon Bee.
Yeah.
And it seems like she agrees more with Matt Walsh.
Okay. So what does Matt Walsh say?
Well, he's concerned that this type of language is just mirroring the BLM playbook.
Okay.
And could lead to ethnic supremacy.
Okay.
And she agrees with that. She's disappointed that the Trump administration will support this type of thing.
Right.
And she makes it very clear that she will not tolerate ethnic supremacy from anyone.
So her point is that criticism of Israel should not be conflated with hatred of Jewish people.
Exactly.
Okay.
She briefly mentions an endorsement from Trump of Randy Fine, who allegedly mocked a photo of a dead Palestinian child.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is obviously a point of contention for her.
It is.
And then she says that she won't sit down with Eric Weinstein to discuss Israel.
She calls him a liar.
Yeah. She says he's untrustworthy and part of this neocon control effort. Yeah. So that seems like the end of that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so she mentions a few other things.
He does.
More briefly. April is her favorite month. Yeah. She jokes about not being allowed a peaceful end of pregnancy and needing a dedicated YouTuber to tell people to leave Candace alone.
Yeah.
She says she'll be starting her maternity leave soon.
Yeah.
She talks about her Instagram poll results, about the potential lawsuit.
Yeah.
And she has a discussion with Olivia Nuzzi about Jessica Reed Krause in a potentially libelous article.
Right.
Her Instagram video about JFK AIPAC and Israel's nuclear reactor was taken down.
But the video about RFK Jr. stayed up.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. She also previews her upcoming book club meeting.
Okay.
About the CIA and Dr. Jolly West.
Okay.
They'll be reading Hollywood Babylon.
Got it.
She gives a shout out to her sponsors, Preborn Pure Talks, 7 Weeks Coffee, American Financing.
Got it.
And
so it's remarkable how many things were raised.
It's a lot.
In just this one source.
Yeah.
So it's like this new lawsuit, this media narrative.
Yeah.
Alleged hidden agendas in Hollywood, and these evolving definitions of anti-Semitism and free speech.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
And I think it raises some really important questions for the listener to consider. Like, what are the motivations behind the lawsuit and the subpoena?
Yeah.
How do we reconcile the media's past and present approaches to controversial figures and issues? To what extent should we be concerned about the influence of these hidden programs or agendas within powerful industries?
Right.
And how can we ensure that the fight against genuine prejudice doesn't infringe on free speech and critical discourse?
Those are good questions.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, for the listener, it's really important to consider the narratives that are surrounding public figures and the information that's presented.
Yeah.
Like, what's missing?
What are they not telling you?
Yeah, what perspectives are being intentionally downplayed or obscured. So as someone who's listening to this, who's actively trying to be informed, how do you approach these complex situations and arrive at your own conclusions?
It's tough.
It is tough.
Yeah.
So I think this deep dive, as always, is just a starting point for your own further investigation and critical thinking on these multifaceted and often challenging topics.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks.